Singaporeans can adopt to cope with higher living costs as a result of rising inflation.
With Singapore's Consumer Price Index in June rising 5.2% in 1 year, more Singaporeans are concerned with the upward living costs, especially in terms of transport, food and housing. Mr. Ravi Menon, Managing Director of the MAS, said the consumer prices will stay above 5% over the next few months before trending down towards the end of the year. In the meantime, which are the groups most affected by inflation? Experts say that even though it is the top 20% earners in Singapore who face the highest inflation rates, low-income earners are likely to be hardest hit because of their lower income base. I speak to Mr. Lee Yi Shyan, Minister of State for the Ministry of Trade and Industry, about what he thinks are the major areas of concern among Singaporeans when it comes to rising living costs.
Well, if you look at the household expenditure, I think the average household spends, let's say, 25% on housing, 22% on food, 16% on transport, and also 16% on recreation and others. So I think these are the key areas. So to the extent that prices increase in these categories, the individual household will feel the pinch and naturally they'll be worried.
Mr. Lee is also chairman of the Retail Price Watch Group, an organization set up to keep a close watch on any excessive price increases of daily necessities and anti-competitive behavior from businesses in Singapore. He makes some recommendations for those trying to find cheaper alternatives for household products and services.
Well, I think they got to be very smart about their spending. I'll give you an example. In terms of consumption, a lot of us are really very habitual. In the case of our rice consumption, for instance, many Singaporeans consume Thai rice. And Thai rice in the international market is usually 2 to 2.5 times the other alternatives. And if you just walk down to Fair Price supermarket, you'll find that there are perhaps 6-7 types of 5 kg rice. A ordinary packet of house brand will be just about 5.50, whereas the highest price Thai rice will be 13.90. So I think if we are willing to modify our habits and to go for different variety substitutes, I think we can save a lot from there. The other, of course, is to compare prices before we decide on certain brand or certain type of food. Sometimes we receive complaints from consumers that they were surprised certain store charges so much, but yet they still go back to the same store and patronize. I think as smart consumers, we can vote with our wallet, so to speak, and to patronize other stores that offer lower prices.
Mr. Lee said the consumers can influence prices of goods by making more prudent choices when purchasing food and other commodities.
From our survey, in the last few months, 95% of the hawker stores, for instance, still keep their prices constant, same as before. So I think through price signals, we can actually influence the market.
Mr. Leong Si-Hian, former president of the Society of Financial Service Professionals, reveals some simple ways Singaporeans can streamline their household expenditure. He stresses the importance of families coming together to talk about their financial goals and expenditure when it comes to coping with inflation.
Perhaps a general thing that every family can do, whether you are low income, middle income, high income, whether you think you are stretched or you are stretching, is to get all the family members together every month and then try to figure out where the money is coming and where the money is going. So after a while, things will always get better, because from my experience, we see a lot of families. The issue is not whether the money is enough or not enough. It's just that not everybody knows where the money is coming, where it's going, and how they can manage their budget. And of course, it is very good for family bonding. When was the last time your kids realized how difficult it was for you to earn the money? And when was the last time, say, if you're a husband, when was the last time your wife realized where the money is going every month?
Mr. Leong recommends some simple resources available free of charge for families to manage their household spending better.
When we talk about financial planning, the big issue I think today is that when a family gets into a huge financial difficulty, then they start to plan. So actually, the best thing is, whether it's good times or bad times, families should always come together and give some thought to what are their financial goals and the financial concerns. Because from this, then you can figure out whether how much money you can spend, whether you're spending too much money, too little money. The crux of the matter is you need to do the analysis to find out whether you have or don't have enough relative to your financial goals and concerns. Of course, it's better to have a professional to help you, but Actually, it's very basic stuff. You just Google financial planning, you can see, some of the basic. For example, the CPF board website has retirement calculators, expense calculators. There are a lot of resources available free of charge today.
And that was Mr. Leong Si-Hian, former president of the Society of Financial Service Professionals, sharing some tips on how to streamline household expenditure when coping with rising inflation. Inflation is definitely not a phenomenon unique to Singapore and is never completely avoidable. However, with good financial planning and a greater willingness to change our spending habits, coping with rising living costs can be far less daunting. For 938 Live, I'm Angela Lim.
938 Live. 938 Live. Gets you talking.